Hey guys, it's me again. It's that time of the month again for me to do my end of the month wrap up. This month, obviously, is for April. So typically, I'd start this out in the order of which I read the books. I'm going to do it a little different here because there's some books I want to talk a little more about, and some books I want to save till the end because I have a lot to talk about. So, with that being said, I read three books. Three books in April. It wasn't a rough month for me. It was just I started a new work schedule and then I had to adjust to that plus all the other things going on. So I kind of got out of the loop. And another big reason, which I will talk about in the end as to why my reading kind of slowed this month. So the first book I want to talk about is Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. I have a whole reading vlog on this, which I'll link up here or here, whichever side the info card is on. So this book is about a zombie, this guy right here. And he's kind of having, I guess you could call it an end of life crisis. He's not really adjusting to his new life. He wants more from this life as a zombie. And then he meets this girl and he starts to change. So, my issue with this book wasn't with the writing. I had no problem with the writing style. I really thought the idea of sentient zombies wanting to be more than they are was really cool. A lot of my issues came from certain aspects and certain approaches to the plague in this book that just didn't sit right with me. Also, I found that I wasn't really connected to the characters at all, which isn't a good sign in a book. And I think after having this sit with me for a little bit, that a lot of it could be just my personal preference. I don't consume a lot of zombie media. In my eyes, that market is just really oversaturated, or at least it was a few years ago. So I kind of avoid it if I can. So I think just my personal preferences not really aligning with what this book is mainly about, plus all the other things, led me to an overall 3-star rating for this book. The next book I want to talk about is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. I have really mixed feelings about this book, and I still really haven't figured that out, where exactly I land on them. So, in this book, they live on this secluded island where things just disappear. Like, they'll wake up one day and be like, oh, something else has disappeared, and then they figure out what it is and essentially get rid of all that item. Which the book never really clarifies where these come from or how they know what it is. It just seems like something ingrained into them. They don't give you real clear answers in that aspect, which me as a reader, I don't like ending with open-ended things like that. And then there's also, on one hand, that these characters in here seem a little bland, but at the same time, if they have a bunch of holes in their memories due to all the disappearances, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, you're all like, they're bland though. I do think this book opened up an interesting conversation. I mean, it was just me talking with myself and debating in my head, but an interesting conversation about our memories and how they make us who we are, and not just our memories, but our experiences in general. Because, I mean, wouldn't be who I am without all my memories and all my experiences that have led up to this point right now. So it does beg the question of, yes, these characters are bland, but also they're missing holes in what's making them them. Not sure if that makes sense, but in my head it does. So I think overall, though, that writing characters with these gaps in their memories is difficult, and I think this book did the best they could with it. And a lot of the time reading this, I wasn't really sure what the end goal was. Like, it felt like a memoir about someone telling the journey of a specific event, but obviously it's a fictional book, which I don't mind. It's just, I don't know. It was an odd approach. Like I said, a lot of my feelings on this are mixed, and I don't really know where I stand on them. The more I think about them, the more mixed my feelings get. Because, like I said, there's one issue, but then you look at it and you're like, well, it kind of makes sense due to the scenario this book is in. Another big thing when I first started this book is it's written in past tense at first. So they're saying they forgot, like, birds or something. And she's talking about how she knew birds and all this. And I was really confused as to how she still remembered it. So that took some getting used to. So just a warning, if you do read this, it's written in past tense, but almost in a like current view of what's going on now. But it's past tense. It's really weird. And it really threw me off at first. I've seen a few YouTubers talk about this book, and a lot of them said they weren't that big of fans of it, but I was really hoping I would like this book because the concept seemed really cool to me. But unfortunately, due to all my mixed feelings wrapped up with this book, the only rating I could really land on for this was 3 stars. So that is the second 3rd star book of April. Okay, now, this last book. I said there was another reason why my reading slowed in April, and this book is the reason. I've talked about, I think I briefly mentioned it in my TBR, but I had started reading this book and I just wasn't jiving well with it. So I took a break and read these 2 other books. And then I finally got back to this book and I really dragged my feet finishing it because it was a tough read for me. I have this book Discord server with my friends, and I was flaming this book pretty hard as I was reading it, so I'll post the reading updates all around me here on the screen. But yeah, this book was a tough read for me. So King's Cage is the 3rd book in the Red Queen series, which it's hard to give you a synopsis of this book when it is the 3rd in a series because it would spoil the other books. But to wrap up the series as a whole, it's about a girl named Mare who has red blood. In her world, there are also people with silver blood, and these silver people have abilities. Kind of think like X-Men, how they have like their little mutated gifts. It's kind of like that. So, silvers have these powers, reds are inferior. Mare finds out she has her own special ability, and she kind of gets wrapped up in this world of reds versus silvers and trying to overthrow the silver regime. And so that's kind of what the whole series is about. There were times where I thought if I didn't have the next book for this series and I hadn't already spent money on it, I would DNF this book. Like, I just really wasn't in it in the first half. For about the first 200 pages, a lot of nothing happened, in my opinion. What's really funny is I was asking for a second point of view in my last wrap up, my March wrap up, which I will link up here. And they gave that to us. But it was a point of view that no one really asked for. And it didn't really provide any relief from the other point of view we were kind of stuck in. So those two things combined together just made for like a really annoying, kind of boring reading experience for me. Another thing in this book is time flies. I I don't even know the span this book takes, how long this book takes. I would say it's in like the 6 to 9 month range. Could even be a whole year. I know it's at least 6 months. But like there's so many time jumps, and that can make it really difficult for me as the reader to be all like, oh, it's summer now. Oh, it's winter now. Like time flies in this book. Overall, I'd say I'm happy I finished this book. I mean, the second half was a lot better. It definitely, I wouldn't say it fully made up for the first half, because like I said, that first half was really tough for me to get through. But I'd say the second half of the book really hit me emotionally, and I can't tell if it's just the story or if it's because I had previous connections to the characters. But yeah, I cried like 5 times in the second half of the book. And the ending was a really good cliffhanger. I will give it that. It's just that first half really just was hard for me to get over. I mean, when I was reading it, I was thinking like if I could get through it, it'd end up being a 2 star. But the second half was good enough that I think I'm gonna bump my rating up to a 3 star. But I can't see it being any more than that. So King's Cage is a 3 star. Also, I have a bit of a confession to make. Technically, I didn't finish King's Cage until May 1st. So it shouldn't be in this wrap up, but I figured just having 2 books wouldn't make for a very good wrap up, so that's why I threw it in here. But yeah, it was a tough reading month. 3 books, 3 stars. But yeah, hopefully this month will be better for me. I have a little surprise planned for you guys for this month, which you'll see at the end of the month. And I'm really excited to show you guys that. So if you want to see that, be sure to stick around and subscribe. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're able, go support your local bookstore. Okay, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.